If everybody could take a seat, that would be great. We can begin. If everybody could take their seat, that would be great. Thank you. All right. Well, we have a whole troop here. Shall we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor Pro Tem Penna is on vacation this week, so he's not in attendance. Otherwise, the rest of us are here. Can I get approval for the final agenda? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes unanimously, at least 4 out of 5. Now, we have proclamations. So, let's go right to it. Who do we want to introduce here first? Dr. Freeland, Public Works Director, Purvis. Shall we introduce the new Senior Executive Assistant to the City Manager and the Public Works Manager?
We can certainly do that. It was my pleasure to introduce to you all Michelle Molina, our new Senior Executive Assistant to the City Manager.
Michelle, there you go. Take a stand.
Briefly, Michelle comes to us from the city of Cathedral City, where she had a similar role working for them for a few years. She has over 10 years of experience. Her and her family reside in India, and she talks about her 2 wonderful kids, Sophia, age 17, and Augie, age 5. So welcome to the team. And if I can have, there she is, our Public Works Director, Dina Purvis, step forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilman. I am very proud to introduce today Julie Mignona. She is our new Public Works Manager. She is a native of the Coachella Valley. She's a graduate of USD. She is coming to us.
Give her a raise. Give her a raise. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was laughing. She comes to us from CBAG by way of the city of La Quinta. So many years of experience doing exactly what we do here in Public Works. She has 3 sons and is used to a fast-paced environment, so she's a perfect match for us. Thank you.
It's great. Welcome. Okay, that's in the introduction. So what we want to do today is also present a Public Works proclamation. So, today we kind of shine a light on the essential work of public works professionals who keep our city functioning every day. It is a privilege to acknowledge our team, whose commitment to service safety and community partnership is unwavering. Our progress is only possible because of the strong collaboration we share with residents who are deeply invested in the aesthetics of our neighborhoods to ensure our community remains pristine. If I can ask our Public Works team to come forward to receive this proclamation, recognizing this week as Public Works Week, in the spirit of your ongoing dedication to serving our community with integrity, transparency, and pride. Just as a personal note, there isn't a person who I come across in the entire Coachella Valley that doesn't say, when I drive into the city of Indian Wells, I know when I'm in the city. The roads are great, the landscaping is fantastic, and that is an attribute to you all. So congratulations.
Perfect. Yes, please.
Pictures.
Need pictures, always pictures. Okay,
All right.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. Great stuff. Let's keep that landscaping flowing with all that salty water, too. Good grief. My goodness. We're hearing about that from golf courses, too, in our city. All right, next up, C3, Fire Station 55, mini muster presentation by fire apparatus engineer Cameron Moylan. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Today, I'm Cameron Moylan. I'm an engineer over at Station 55. So I want to talk a little bit about the mini muster. We have the mini muster. We used to have it once a year. We used to always have it in October, which was the Fire Prevention, Safety, and Awareness Month. So now we've moved it to 2 times a year. So we have one in March and we have one in October. So the mini muster is here to assist in providing fire training, safety to hundreds of local elementary schools, hundreds of local elementary schools, and then this year I think we had almost up to 1,000 kids that we were trying to train in the fire safety training. In cooperation with Riverside County Fire Department, our unified school districts in the cities of Palm Desert and Indian Wells, we are able to do this mini muster. So what we do for the mini muster is now we have it twice a year to accommodate for the high temps and the heat. So we will have one in March, and then in October, the Fire Prevention, Safety, and Awareness Month. We basically go into classes and give presentations, and it's really fun for the kids. You know, we show up, they get to make and break hose, we get to spray water, we get to show them our PPE, they get to wear our boots and turnout gear, and talk about fire prevention. We do something called the Iwtv drill, which is the exit drills in the house. So basically we kind of simulate there's a fire inside a house, how they can get out safely, because fires grow rapidly so fast nowadays. So we try to give them the guidance and knowledge to get them out of the house. With that being said, we do have a mini muster art winner certificate, and I'd like to present that to Gwen Rucker.
And is Gwen here today?
No,
Okay, so,
but her artwork is.
oh, great.
Artworkers.
Look at that, that's fantastic. Turn around and show everybody.
Yeah.
Great, okay. Great.
I'll wait for you to come down.
And here is a certificate for her that you can take with you. Let's just say here. There you go. Why don't you come over here too? There you go. Great.
There we go.
All right. Please give Gwen our gratitude for her participation and her excellence.
I will, and for those of you that don't know, this will be displayed next week in Palm Desert, and then it will be taken and it will be framed. And this picture will be framed and it will hang in your fire station for a year. And then we'll collect it next year when we have next year's winner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Way to go, Gwen.
Mayor, I have a little video as well to show.
Please.
Here in the city of Palm Desert, where we get the local schools to come in for a mini muster where the students learn fire safety and fire prevention. It's great for our firefighters because it gets them involved in the community, and the community can see the firefighters who are working for them. It's great for kids to have interactive fire safety, because what we found out is that when kids learn fire safety from a young age, it sticks with them through their adult years and the rest of their life. It's our pleasure to be out here today. We're glad to be out working with the kids and involved with the community.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Good stuff. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, just as a footnote, by the way, I was talking to one of the CAL FIRE folks from Los Angeles County saying 80% of the fires in Southern California that we're reading about in the newspaper right now are human caused, which is kind of shocking. So, and depressing. Let's see, legislative update by Riverside County Division Manager Jesse Ramirez.
I'll go ahead and interject. Jesse had a family member or matter come up today.
Okay.
So he apologizes. He'll be at your June meeting.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We're not going to present on his behalf?
We are not.
Okay. Public comments. So do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
We do, but they are for the later items for general business.
Okay.
So we'll hold those till then.
Okay, great. City Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of City Council, I have a few items. First, as an update to your agenda, we are going to be requesting that the council continue item I-5 regarding gasoline-powered landscape equipment to a future meeting. Staff and Councilmember Reed agree more analysis is needed on the operational and cost impacts of potential options, and so that'll be placed on your June agenda. As far as other items, I am happy to report that last week, the City of Indian Wells received the prestigious John Sanford Todd Award from the California Contract Cities Association during their annual conference, which is up there at the podium today. This award recognizes a city for outstanding achievement in programming that exemplifies the contract cities model of partnerships, and specifically our partnership with the Cove communities, and how that has been an effective operation model for our three cities of Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, and of course here in Indian Wells. Through that program, we share police, fire services. Now we're doing much more with emergency preparedness, and we're looking at other opportunities as well. And so it's been a very good program, and Contract Cities recently recognized it. So congratulations to the community. Last week, I also want to share that at the budget meeting, there was included a recap of our solar project costs and savings. While we had our challenges getting this project completed on time, it has proven to be very successful in both how much money the city is saving, as well as the number of kilowatt hours being greater than we projected. Even more so, which is also exciting, is the original purchase price of the energy efficiency system was $9.1 million. And over the course of the last couple of years, the city has found additional $4 million in savings, whether it be from grants or other credits, to put the total cost of that program at $5.1 million. So it's a huge achievement for the community. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
I believe we're also going to do an update, Angelica, on this being an election year and the time for the community to consider running for city office, and you can share those dates.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as your election official, I've been working closely with our city attorney's office to prepare for the November 2026 election. The election will be formally called at your next regular meeting on June 18th. The election will be held on November 3rd. The nomination period for the city council seats for 2 seats will be open on July 13th and extended through August 7th. So that's when the nomination period opens. So we'll be calling the election.
And I believe, Bruce, you want to have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and my colleagues up here on the dais. This is a good time for me to announce that I will not be standing for re-election in November. I want to thank everybody. This is not goodbye. It's a long goodbye, because I'm going to continue to be up here on the dais and working on city business until December, until the mayor hits the mallet the last time at that meeting, and there's a transition to a new council member. But I do want to give special thanks to Angelica, Chris, Eric, all of the staff, our city attorney, my colleagues on the dais here, and all of you and the staff back there. Thank you so much for all you did for me over the last 3.5 years, Kevin. And of course, the residents, all of you sitting out here in the audience today, and all of you watching on TV or may hear it from other sources. Your friendship and your help and assistance and counsel to me has been invaluable, and I've tried to be an honest broker of information and stick to my guns. and compromise when available. To Jenny, we are not leaving here. We're going to stay in our house in Indian Wells, and we're going to be a part of this community as we have been for the last 12 years. So I've spent pretty much the last 10 years working for the city of Indian Wells in one capacity or another, and you know, I'm looking forward to returning to this exalted status that they call resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure to serve alongside you. So that
Mayor, to
yes.
note, because of council members not seeking reelection, I did want to note that the nomination period will automatically be extended through August 12th.
August 12th, okay.
Thank you.
So let's get some great people running for office. Encourage all, it's so much fun, can't you see? All right, so city attorney reports, what do we have?
Honorable Mayor and Council, as you know, the council met in closed session earlier today to discuss the items described on the agenda. No action was taken that needs to be reported under the Brown Act. However, the council has authorized me to share some good news with the community. We are nearing a potential conclusion to the Parsons litigation. The Court of Appeal issued a positive tentative ruling recently, and the court will hear oral arguments on June 22nd, coming up shortly. The court will have 90 days after that to issue its final ruling, so we hope to have resolution before the beginning of the season. That concludes, I think that concludes my report. Yes, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Next item is a consent calendar. So do we have anything that we want to pull from the consent calendar, gentlemen?
Second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously, at least 4 out of 5. Now we go to public hearings, I believe. Public hearings, do we have, I guess we go to H1, ordinance amending the Title 21 to clarify existing regulations under the golf course overlay zone. Do we have any public comments before this begins, or are we going to wait till after the presentations?
We'll be opening a public hearing after the presentation.
After the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and honorable council members. John Berg, I'm your Community Development Director. The item before you is an item that has been continued from your last meeting in April, and it is being continued to clarify some language in the ordinance, and I will go ahead and explain that in due time here. But real quickly, I would just like, for the benefit of the community who is unfamiliar with the ordinance being presented to you, just give a quick summary of what's being presented. This is an ordinance that would effectively establish a new golf and recreation zone that would replace the golf course overlay. The city's land use map, as you can see on the screen there, shows dark green areas, and those areas constitute the open space golf and recreation land use designation under the general plan. And loosely, in the zoning, it is referred to as a golf course overlay, and the golf course overlay is specific to the areas of the golf course, and by definition, it was coterminous with the boundaries of the golf course. So outside of those boundaries, in the green areas, was the allowance for recreational uses, country club style recreational uses. So the golf and recreation zone would establish a new base zone and replace the golf course overlay to provide more clarification and consistency between the general plan and the zoning ordinance. In fact, the general plan is kind of the long-range planning document for the city. It's often referred to as the Constitution. It receives deference over any conflicts between the zoning code and the general plan land use. And so here, where the general plan talks about golf and recreation, it's already an adopted land use designation as shown on the map in the green areas. And the designation, as you can see, is an excerpt from the general plan in the bottom left-hand corner. It is intended for the public and private golf courses and tennis facilities and other typical country club style amenities. And that's very broad. And so In the zoning code, we really don't define what kind of recreational facilities are allowed within the golf and recreation zone or outside of the golf course overlay. And so here, through this ordinance, we are cleaning that up and enumerating the general uses that are consistent with golf course style amenities. Also, it should be noted that general plan action item CD 1A directs us to do exactly what we're doing here today. We're updating the zoning code to be consistent with the general plan to ensure it complies with the general plan. I would also direct your attention to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen where it's an excerpt from the general plan. It's the build-out table, and in there it describes the types of land uses that it evaluated in the general plan as far as being built out, and the environmental impact report in support of the general plan looked at build-out of golf course and recreational uses in the 1,300 acres of open space areas that is designated golf and recreation. So what does this ordinance do? As I mentioned, it repeals the old overlay, so it effectively removes the floating kind of phantom polygon that exists within the green areas and ties it to the boundaries of the existing golf course. It establishes more of a geographical base zones, so it's very intuitive where golf course and recreational uses can occur. And it does this by establishing the base zone and allows recreational uses consistent with the general plan land use map. And then it goes up further to clean up related chapters. It clarifies and restates the definitions for modern golf courses and recreational uses. The planning areas, it establishes a review framework and conforming edits across the zoning code to read as one cohesive update. It's also important to note what this ordinance does not do, and it does not allow new land uses. The land uses that are enumerated in the proposed ordinance are clearly established out in the existing country clubs if you go and view for yourself. And so it does not also amend the zoning map. The green areas stay green, and it does not approve any new physical development. So where we are in the process is we did present this for review to the Planning Commission, who recommended approval to City Council. We then brought it to Council, as I mentioned earlier, on April 16th. And an unintended issue was brought to our attention at that time. And so Council decided to continue the item, and they formed an ad hoc committee with Mr. Sanders and Mr. Councilmember Bruce Whitman. And staff was happy to work with them to kind of include their edits to the ordinance to clarify a concern they had with regard to the potential for future location of telecommunications facility within the golf and recreation zone. And so to provide some, I guess, background on that, what the ad hoc committee did was amend the language to specifically prohibit zone changes within. You cannot do a zone change in the golf and recreation to a golf and recreation zone specifically for a cell tower or a telecommunications facility. It has to be golf and recreation related. And furthermore, you can't propose a zone change if the parcel is not directly abutting a golf and recreational use. So in essence, you have to kind of justify a logical extension of the golf and recreation use to a abutting property, and also it can't be established for a cell tower. It has to extend golf and recreational uses to that property. Also, it was noted by the ad hoc committee that we should clarify that tennis and pickleball uses are consistent with country club recreational uses. The previous version of the ordinance generally referred to them as racket sports, and so here we further clarified that tennis and pickleball fit that definition. So with that, staff is recommending that council opens the public hearing, receives public testimony, and closes the public hearing, introduces the first reading of the ordinance, clarifying the regulations of the golf and recreation zone, including the ad hoc's clarifying amendments, and ensures the consistency with the general plan, and also finds that the adoption of the proposed ordinance is not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
So just as a matter of clarification, first reading, you want to help define that versus?
That's correct. This
Final
is the
reading.
first reading, and the second reading would come at your subsequent meeting in June.
So in essence, kind of a 1-month public hearing, if you will.
That's correct.
Okay. Gentlemen, you have any questions? Nope. Okay. Shall we open to public comment? Do we have any public comment here? Would you like to come to the mic, Mr. Bernheimer?
Thank you, Mayor and Council and staff. Rob Bernheimer. I live here in Indian Wells. Thank you for taking the time to make these changes to the ordinance. As you know, I got up here, hit the wrong button, got up here at the last minute, or at the last meeting and brought these issues up. It turned out not to be hypothetical because the reserve, within days of that meeting, released a proposal to build a 75-foot cell tower on Lot P, which is similar to the proposal that got turned down by this council 5 years ago. I would hope that with these changes, as well as the cell plan that's on your agenda for later this meeting, which really encourages a combination of macro and micro uses that are aesthetically pleasing and I think meet the intent of what Indian Wells is. I would hope that the reserve would back away from a 75-foot cell tower where it was rejected 5 years ago. And I think, you know, from the folks that I represent and work with, we would love to see great cell service up at the reserve. And we'd like to find a way to do that within the framework of the cell plan study that you guys have and the city's aesthetic ordinances. But just to have another battle over a 75-foot cell tower, I think is not helpful and may end up delaying cell service there for another year without a solution. So I thank you for the changes, and I appreciate the good work on this.
Appreciate that. Any other further comment from anybody? Now's your chance. Okay. Back to the council. Do I have a motion to
I move the
accept?
recommended action.
Second. I assume there's no questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Let's go to H2, public hearing on city variances, recruitment retention efforts as required by Assembly Bill 2561. Is this for you, Mr. Seja, to
It is.
present?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council, Eric Seha, Assistant City Manager. This is a requirement under AB 2561 that requires public agencies to provide a status in our vacancy, retention, and recruitment efforts here at the city. And so this is in compliance with that law. I am pleased to share on our vacancies. We have less than 7% of a vacancy rate for our open positions. And we are constantly evaluating what positions we need prior to going out and recruiting and filling those positions. Beyond our recruitment, employee retention also plays a critical role in maintaining our low vacancy rate. We place high value on retaining talent and have implemented several initiatives to support this, including professional development programs to promote employee growth and development, team building activities that strengthen our workplace connections and workplace culture, and recognition opportunities for our staff. We also offer competitive compensation and benefits to support long-term employee satisfaction and retainment. And aligned with our culture of continuous improvement, our recruitment and retention strategies are regularly evaluated. Really, because this is a state requirement, we ask that you open a public hearing and take any testimony. But by opening it a public hearing, you will have met our obligation under this ordinance or with the state law.
Okay, so this is really more of a compliance issue. You're not making any specific recommendations?
There are
to
no
changes
recommendations
or
with this.
anything at this point
Correct.
in time. Okay, any questions? And by the way, Mr. Seha, I mispronounced your name, I apologize. Yes, Dana?
Are we discussing this now?
Yes, we are. Well, no, we're actually having comment now, and then we'll go to public hearing. Do you have any comments?
No, I do not have a question. I'll
Okay.
wait until after public hearing.
Any public hearing on this? Any opening up to public hearing? Any comments? No comments. Okay. Back to us. Now, Dana, you were going to have a comment.
I do, and it's really a technical one, and that is, every time the legislature comes back into session, which is every 2 years, they start the numbers over again. So when you're talking about Assembly Bill 2561, unless you give us the year, we have no idea what 2561 is, what it does, what it does. However, if it's passed and signed by the governor, it then is codified into a code. And instead of referring to an assembly bill where we would have no way of ever looking it up, if you could please refer to the code section where we could go online and read it for ourselves. If that's just a technical thing, it's just.
But it's a very good point. Thank you for making the
There's
comment.
just no way that we would be able to figure out what AB 2561 is because we don't know what year it passed.
Thank you. So maybe we'll make a note.
I noticed the city attorney is smiling. Thank you.
We did provide the government code section in the staff report. We'll make it clear in our next presentation.
Thank you. All right, so shall we, do I have a motion here to accept the recommendation by the staff?
So. Receive and file, isn't it?
Don't we have to, it's just receive and file? We don't have to, okay. All right, so it's receive and file. Then so be it. We'll go to general business, update of City Indian Wells efforts to address flight path changes into Palm Springs. Dr. Freeland, I believe you're making this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is a discussion to update the community on the city's efforts to address the flight path changes into the Palm Springs Airport. Council asked for this update as this is a very important topic and concern for our community. I can tell you that our mayor and council has taken this issue on to the benefit of both the city and the region. So let's talk a little bit of why we are here. In fall of 2025, residents began noticing increased number of flights over Indian Wells. At the same time, city reaches out to the Palm Springs Airport to better understand why the increase in noise and the flight path change. That is when it was discovered that the FAA changed the flight path into Palm Springs Airport right over Indian Wells in June 2025 as part of what they call their next-gen technology. The next-gen technology is a satellite-based navigation system that uses automation of flight paths to improve efficiency and safety of travel. This next-gen flight path allows pilots to utilize GPS systems to essentially land the plane for them. Many airports in the United States have already implemented this next-gen technology. Beginning in early 2026, hundreds of noise complaints were submitted to both Palm Springs Airport and the Federal Aviation Administration, where Palm Springs Airport responded that flight paths fall within the authority of the FAA. Communication with the FAA provided confirmation that they did adjust the flight path in the Palm Springs and that these changes are occurring nationwide as the FAA implements that next-gen technology. In early 2026, the city seeks assistance from our elected officials, including our local Congressman Ken Calvert. We met with representatives at the Palm Springs Airport, and we had correspondence with the FAA to seek a change to the flight path amicably. Mayor Taylor has been the city spokesperson on this matter with the various stakeholders as well. The city has also submitted Freedom of Information Act requests to the FAA to learn more about the process taken to change the flight path, potential safety concerns, environmental review, and much more. So the focus of the concerns that have been expressed here are the noise impacts to our community, safety of flights into and departing to the Palm Springs Airport, as well as potential conflicts from our local airports, both at Bermuda Dunes and Thermal airports. Was a lack of community input into the flight path changes. And of course, we're concerned about the environmental impact that this change in flight paths has occurred because it also puts it right over the conservation area in our mountains just to our community south, which has the peninsular bighorn sheep, which is a federally recognized endangered species. So just to give everybody a little bit of an illustration, the green area is part of that conservation area, which goes all the way up to the mountains right behind our local country clubs. This is a map from the state of California's Coachella Valley Mountain Conservancy, which includes the mountains above Indian Wells, and this is the home of the bighorn sheep. This is one of the impacts of the flight path changes we are concerned about as a community. Now, I would like to call forward our City Council appointed Airport Commissioner, Phil Valadez, who is the City of Indian Wells resident and airport transport pilot, to go over what the flight paths look like and what they mean to our community. As he walks up, wait, he's way too fast for me. Having worked with Phil these past few months, we as a community are very lucky to have such a valuable and knowledgeable person assisting us on this matter. He has spent hours working with the city, Palm Springs Airport, the FAA, and others to help address this community concern. And with that, I'll turn it over to Phil, who wants to share with you a little bit of what is going on in the skies above Indian Wells.
Thank you, Chris. You're too kind. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Phil Valdez. I am the airport commissioner representing the city of Indian Wells. I'll talk a little bit today about some of the flight paths, airspace around Palm Springs and how that impacts us here in Indian Wells. We'll start with a little reference point. This is Thermal Airport. This is Bermuda Dunes Airport. This is Indian Wells, and this is Palm Springs Airport.
Phil, can I ask you to keep that microphone? There you go. Up closer to your mouth. There you go.
Thank you. The purple or the pink line that you see there is the original or the last RNAV approach that we had here into Palm Springs. As a pilot, this is an interesting approach. As a pilot, I prefer a more straight-in approach than this. And if I was flying into Palm Springs today, I would probably not want to use this approach. I would probably do something more along the lines of a visual approach. Yeah, thank you. I would probably do what we call a visual approach. And if I remember correctly, a visual approach is an approach in which the pilot determines his own flight path to the airport. It's usually quicker, it's usually a little more direct. And speaking of a visual flight path, this red flight path is pretty consistent with a visual approach into Palm Springs. For instance, if I was going to fly from the north, I would probably do a downwind base and final into Palm Springs. If I was coming from the east, I would come across the valley through here at a base lake and make a final turn onto Palm Springs. The green line is our current RNAV approach into Palm Springs. What I want to talk about here is when planes are arriving on this RNAV approach, they're approaching Indian Wells at about 4,000 feet. As they transition through Indian Wells, they descend down to about 3,000 feet. 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet. Let's keep that in mind just for 1 second. Here's where it gets a little more interesting. Planes coming out of Bermuda Dunes, and Bermuda Dunes is a general aviation airport. It has a little bit of corporate traffic. And planes that depart this airport, when they're heading east, do this departure here in blue. They take off, they climb to about 400 feet, then they make a left-hand turn and follow this path and head east. As you can see, there's a bit of a conflict here. When the planes get to about this area as they're climbing out, the altitude is about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. So what we have here is we have planes departing to the east, 3,000 to 4,000 feet. Now they could be a little lower, they could be a little higher. And then we have planes that are on the approach descending from 4,000 to 3,000 feet. I think this is a huge safety issue, something I'm not sure that the FAA has fully vetted and looked at. The other airport that we have down here is Thermal. Now, while on the surface it doesn't look like it represents much of a threat to this approach that we have into here, but there's a lot of corporate aviation that flies out of Thermal. And the beauty about corporate aviation is the flexibility of corporate. So for instance, it wouldn't be uncommon for a corporate operator to fly into Palm Springs, tell his pilots, pick me up in Thermal in a couple of days, or vice versa, fly into Thermal and then reposition over to Palm Springs. But if you look at the track between Thermal and Palm Springs, a direct line, look where it cuts, right through here. And guess what altitude that is probably going to be? 3,000 to 4,000 feet. So we have a huge safety issue, we think, in this little area, which is in Indian Wells. But irregardless if it's Indian Wells or not, I think we owe it to the residents of the entire Coachella Valley to investigate this and to ask the FAA, why did you do this? Why did you put this approach here like this? Did you vet this departures out of Bermuda Dunes? Did you look at Thermal to Palm Springs and back? And those are the questions we're asking the FAA this time.
Phil, can you expand why the concerns at the both Bermuda Dunes and Thermal airports, they both have something that Palm Springs doesn't have?
Yes, Thermal and Bermuda Dunes are uncontrolled. In other words, they don't have a tower. Pilots can come and go as they please, so they're not under the jurisdiction of the tower at Palm Springs Airport, which makes it even more difficult. For instance, if Bermuda Dunes had a tower, and there was a plane on the approach, and there was a plane waiting to take off Bermuda Dunes, the tower would say, hold on, let's let this airplane pass, and then we'll release you and let you go. But because we don't have that tower there, and pilots can take off and go as they please in the Bermuda Dunes, they would just take off into the blind, not knowing that potentially there is somebody on that approach. Questions, comments?
So
We still
just,
have more of a presentation, but I didn't know if there's any questions of Phil or any
so
other
again,
comments.
what I want to do is just reiterate the colors here so everybody can understand them. The pink is the original FAA approach. That's what's been there for 30 plus years, right?
Right.
The red represents our recommended, the City of Indian Wells, this group, which we hope to get approved today from council, our recommended flight landing pattern into Palm Springs. The green is what currently exists as of June. The white line is the City of Indian Wells. The blue line, purple line, is Bermuda Dunes takeoff, and the gold line is Thermal's takeoff, just to make sure everybody understands what's happening there. Okay? So that's why we're experiencing, and by the way, another thing which I've shared with you in some of my writings is something I didn't realize, which is that there actually is this kind of bell curve of flight traffic coming into our valley. I mean, there are some 90 planes coming in March and 10 or 15 in the summer. I mean, it's that dramatic, right? So that's why it's taken us many months to actually realize, come November, that there are a lot of planes coming, because the number of planes coming in escalates dramatically. Phil, you want to proceed? Or Chris, is there more slides?
There is, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Well, I do have one question.
Sure.
If I can ask. The blue line, Bermuda Dunes.
Correct.
Who controls, is that a flight pattern that's established by the FAA or by the Bermuda
It is
Dunes?
a recommended departure by the FAA.
Okay.
So pilots don't have to fly it, but in my observations of departures out of Bermuda Dunes, a lot of pilots fly this departure.
Okay.
They don't have to. They do in inclement weather, when the weather is down, they do have to do that. But from my observations, I see this happening all the time. I look up and I see planes in a bank. I live approximately here. I see planes in a bank all the time. Am
So
I-
the FAA recommends that as a takeoff
Yes.
route,
Yes.
but it doesn't require it.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
But a lot of people, especially departures to the east, do that departure.
Okay.
If they're heading north or in another northern direction, they'll probably just go straight out. But from what my observation, what I've seen is airplanes taking off to the east. This is the departure they do.
Thank you.
Question,
Yes,
Mr.
Greg.
Mayor. The pink line is the former
Correct.
landing pattern that was
Correct.
used. And was that all done with a visual approach, or was it
No,
done?
that is an instrument approach.
It is.
It is an instrument approach.
So the FAA was using an instrument approach previously. The FAA is using an instrument approach now
In green.
in
Yes.
green.
Yes.
Why did the FAA change the pattern?
That's a good question. It's part of the next gen. It's for more efficiency, is what they say. I have a FOQA, or a Freedom of Information Act request to the FAA. I sent one in 2 days ago, asking their decision on why they decided to do this. And that would probably take 60 days or so to
Okay.
get an answer. But just to answer that, I do not know.
Well, they've responded in writing talking about efficiency. So as a pilot, you've opined that the plane, it's more of a gradual U-turn than a sharp,
Correct.
angular
Correct.
U-turn in pink,
Correct.
which adds more stress on the plane and potentially more discomfort for passengers.
Exactly. This is not an approach that I would only use if I had to. Other than that, I would use a visual approach. It's just simpler and easier. It's more direct. It's not a very efficient approach.
Any other questions? Because there is more presentation. Okay? Is Phil proceeding, or you?
No,
Chris?
I am. I'll finish
Okay.
that up. So with the presentation we've seen from Phil, and because of our council's interest in this matter, since this is very technical and a specialized policy area, the city has retained the services of DLA Piper, which is a large global firm with experience in FAA matters to provide the city with analysis of the FAA process that was used to establish the next-gen flight path. That's important to see what the strategy or the reasonings was, but also if they didn't do the process correctly, so we can have an opportunity to have it re-examined. We've also asked DLA Piper to propose strategies to seek FAA support to implement an alternative to the next-gen path in the Coachella Valley, including a review of environmental documents and whatnot. What I think was really impressed by the team that we've brought on board from DLA Piper is that the senior partner who's working on this matter for us, his name is Mark Nichols. He's the partner and co-chair of the transportation practice in Washington, D.C., and more importantly, he's the former chief counsel for the FAA. So that's an excellent asset, as well as Alan Garrick, who is an associate in the Infrastructure, Construction, and Transport Division there in Washington, D.C. And just this week, both Phil and I were introduced to another gentleman who is being brought on as a consultant to DLA Piper, who was a former FAA administrator, and I think, Phil, his role was monitoring commercial airspace throughout the United States. So he is another valuable asset for the review of the process that we're looking at. Once they've had the time to review the documentation, they will provide the city with some recommended next actions, which we brought forth for you at upcoming discussions with the FAA that we hope to have sometime this summer. So it is for these various reasons outlined in the staff report and our presentation that the City of Indian Wells is seeking the FAA to review the safety and environmental impact concerns of the next-gen flight path, seek an alternative flight path into Palm Springs, including our preferred red path that we shared with you. And at this time, we're asking Council to approve that recommendation. And with that, that concludes my report. Both Commissioner Valdez and I are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I believe we're also asking for the creation of an ad hoc committee to proceed with this plan and advocate for this plan on behalf of the
That's
city.
a wonderful idea.
And so, and I would recommend that Greg and I be on that committee. So the motion, so any questions for team here? What I would say, just as an overall comment, is I've been really impressed with the amount of engagement by the community on this issue. I can't go to the grocery store without hearing about airplanes. It's very exciting, and I'm very empathetic. So, but one of the things that I just have to keep reiterating is that noise is not going to be something the FAA responds to as a reason to change a flight path. So we have been focused very much on the safety issues that are involved here and procedural issues. They also really shouldn't change a flight pattern unless they follow a very strict series of procedures, which we are exploring as to whether or not they've actually done that. So those are the two things we're focused on. And with that, if anybody has any further questions, otherwise I'll open it to the public. No questions? Is there public comments on
I
this?
have one speaker card from Vicky Vargas Nason.
Okay, Nikki Varga, please come on down.
Good afternoon, Mayor Taylor and council members. My name is Vicky Vargas Nason, a resident of Indian Wells. I'm a little late to this party, but you'll find out why. First, I want to commend you on all the steps that you have taken to work towards this better quality of life in this city. Back in January and February, I recorded plane after plane after plane on approach to Palm Springs Airport while sitting in my backyard. This was just one of them. It was February 12th, about 2:30 in the afternoon. Look at that, it's not playing.
The FAA has sneaky software.
I would agree with that.
Technology's great
They're
when it
deploying.
works.
Oh, my goodness.
That's all right.
I take it it's a sound recording of.
Yeah, it's a
of
sound
jet
recording. I'm
plane.
not going to use up my whole 3 minutes, but you'll get the idea. And I can submit this via email to the clerk. So now that I know, sometimes I think they're so low, I swear I can hear the flight attendant say, put your tray tables up and your seats in their upright position. And now I know how low they are. In season, I feel like I'm living under the equivalent of rush hour in the air. It happens morning and evening. We bought our home about 16 years ago, never an issue, as we heard today, until the flight pattern changed. Now, I read the entire staff and very thorough report explaining about the technology and then telling us that pilots would still have the option of landing these planes themselves, which could, as we learned, change the entire flight pattern. I also read the Desert Sun article about the number of noise complaints that have been logged, and according to them, 3 times the annual average in a matter of months. As a retired journalist, I was more than disappointed in the response from the FAA spokesperson and the current airport director, verbally rolling their eyes over Indian Wells residents and their concerns. For me, this is about more than having to stop a conversation because the planes are drowning me out. I lost my husband in February. His dying wish was to have his memorial with family in our backyard here in Indian Wells, outdoors. So imagine my anxiety. Imagine how worried I was that we would have to stop a prayer or not be able to finish singing Amazing Grace because of the planes being louder than the music. I even tried to time the service in between the window of the known landings that I could find. So how horrific is that? I will leave you with this, and I know you have all done your homework. Whether it's concern over the bighorn sheep, the potential safety issues with crossover at Bermuda Dunes and thermal airports, or our amplifying mountains, the skies above us are no longer friendly. I look forward to whatever you learn from this Freedom of Information Act, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Is there any other public comment? Okay.
Mayor, if I could
Yes,
just
please.
restate the motion, or sound
Please,
like
go
a
ahead.
proposed motion, it would be to move staff's recommendation along with the formation of an ad hoc committee with yourself and Councilmember Sanders. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
I so move.
Any discussion?
Second.
Okay.
Under discussion, I just want to give a shout out to Phil Valdez, our airport commissioner. I mean, what he's done, and the community should recognize this, is above and beyond the call of duty. And without his expertise, we wouldn't be nearly as far down the road as we are. So thank you for everything you've done.
Any other comment?
The only thing I would like to say to give some, I don't know, some hope is that as a lawyer, I did some legal research on this, and there are a couple of cases where in Phoenix and Newport Beach and a few other places where there have been some successes through litigation. And we have hired a top law firm, and you know, litigation can be successful, and let's hope for the best.
Okay. Any further comment? All right. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Now we go to the wireless master plan. Who's making this presentation? Risk Manager Werner, okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff, residents. My name is Nick Warner. I am the IT and Risk Manager for the city. Before you today is the city's wireless master plan. This item comes before you as a result of direction from this council at last year's strategic planning. At that time, council directed staff to assess city cellular coverage and identify strategies to improve services for the entire community. City went out for an RFP, and a professional services agreement was given to CellPlan Technologies. Christine Korovachuk is here from CellPlan Technologies, and CellPlan happens to be the same vendor that did Rancho Mirage's wireless master plan. So familiar with the area. This study began with a multi-day drive test that included every HOA in the city and 5 golf courses. We actually took equipment onto 5 golf courses to assess those coverages for the ones that we felt like had the largest concern. In addition to the drive test study, we also did a verification of existing wireless infrastructure throughout the city, and then all of that data was put on a GIS map that shows coverage for AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. This map's being made available to the public. It's actually available today, and I'll show you an example of it. After the coverage was assessed, the next step was to review our current zoning and permitting rules, and then to try and identify some policy-based solutions that we could find that could benefit the entire community. To roll out our map, we actually put together a video that is on our city website that can help our residents understand what they're seeing and how they can navigate through that map, and I'm going to show you that video now.
As part of the Wireless Master Plan, the City of Indian Wells has now released an interactive cell coverage map on the city's website. Checking cell coverage has never been easier. Go to cityofindianwells.org/wireless-masterplan and click on Cell Coverage Map. When you first access the web page, you'll see a disclaimer pop up. Signal strength is categorized into 4 categories based on decibel milliwatts, the absolute power of a cellular signal. Excellent. A strong connection with the fastest possible data speeds. Good. A solid connection with good data speeds for streaming, browsing, and calls. Cell. Your connection might still work, but data speeds may be slower and dropouts may occur. Cell Edge. Your phone will have a hard time connecting, resulting in dropped calls and no internet access. To proceed to the map view, simply click the box at the bottom left of your screen to agree, then click OK at the bottom right to continue. Once you're in, you can zoom in on the map or enter your address in the search bar on the left-hand side. Once you enter your address, a pop-up window will appear with the location signal classification from AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. The map includes options to toggle individual layers on and off. For example, if you want to see AT&T coverage only, toggle off the Verizon and T-Mobile layers. You may notice that not all businesses are included on the map. To assess signal strength at the unlisted locations, click on the nearest address point and view the signal strength nearby. For the most accurate and up-to-date coverage information, please consult your wireless service provider. To continue to stay updated on the Wireless Master Plan, visit cityofindianwells.org/wireless-masterplan.
So here's a sample of that map that we are showing. As you can see, it lined up with our expectations. Our expectations were that we had some unserved and underserved areas on the southern edge of our community, specifically in the clubs that are in the foothill area, as well as a little bit to the north of our community in the Toscana Country Club. We consider some of those major issues causing these include terrain, land use patterns, and of course, uneven siting distributions. You know, you can see where the tennis garden is as well as our resorts. There's fantastic coverage there, and it's because they need the capacity and coverage. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine to touch on some of the more technical items from the Wireless Master Plan.
Well, thank you everybody for giving me the chance to present. One of the things that I want to bring up is that cell phone coverage is not just about us using our cell phones. It's for chatting and connecting business or reaching relatives. It also has public safety implications. Not only the public safety personnel has to be able to reach us, they have to be able to use their phones, but we also have to be able to easily reach E911. So if we want to make emergency calls for public safety and for even family members or to reach somebody to help us. Today there's a subject that comes up quite often. It was like, well, but now there's the satellite to cell or direct to device connection, which would be, can we use satellite for 911 calls? While that is true, and that is recognized by the FCC, this is recognized as a supplemental tool. It is not meant to be the primary means of accessing 911. So really the initial vision for this is that this would be used for remote areas that have no cell phone coverage, and that it would be really hard to reach. This is not the case of Indian Wells. Indian Wells, you do have some cell phone coverage, it's just not good enough. So what that happens is your calls will always tend to be routed through that first, because that if you look at your phone, you always see the network. You can connect well, but you can see it, so it's not reliable. The second problem with the satellite to cell is that it is an emerging technology. It's not available for all providers, and it's dependent on cell phone models. So not all cell phones have it, and not every provider will support that. So that really limits how much that technology can be used. So in terms of public safety implications, improving the ground-based macro cell coverage is really the most dependable way that you can for making that more reliable. In terms of the recommended coverage strategy, the most efficient solution for what we saw here is to work with, to meet the aesthetics of the city, to work with well-concealed sites, first of all, macro cell deployments. So macro cell sites are essential when you're trying to establish coverage. Other cell sites like microcells or small cells or picocells, they're meant for capacity, not for coverage. Lower frequency bands, which you see on the wireless master plan, is what we really try to address. That's how you hook your phone up to the system. And that paired with antenna regulations, and that will support those towers to be built in appropriate locations that conform with city code. So some of the areas we looked at was the golf clubhouses, maintenance and operation areas and golf courses, parking areas, parking lots, watercourse zones, we'll talk a little bit more about that, and select public properties. So the approach that we try to see is where would towers be most beneficial to make a big impact on the coverage, but still maintaining Indian Wells visual and community standards. In terms of, so moving on to that zoning and regulatory framework I just mentioned, the idea of this plan we provided, it's not to approve any sites. It was really just to identify where facilities should be considered or may be considered. So one of the things we addressed was the public facility zones and telecom overlay. So just to try to clarify the standards and entitlement pathways to make sure that all your guidance is clear should a carrier be proposing a location for a tower. Or when I say tower here, please don't take it tower as a lattice structure. Could be concealed, stealth tower, monopalm, a tree, or something that is stealth. Golf course overlay areas. So here, explicitly, the goal here is to prohibit where anything telecom related cannot be. So really carving out the golf play areas as a no-go, and expanding the consideration of beyond the clubhouses a little bit. So if you have a parking areas or things like that. Watercourse zone, so that would be to remove the prohibition. Today it's explicitly prohibited in the telecommunications overlay zone, but a watercourse zone covers a wide range of different areas. So allow a limited pathway for a conditional use permit review. So that still keeps, the decision on your hands, requiring strict engineering, flood control, environmental, and all other safety findings. The main reasons for these recommendations really is to modernize the zoning code of the city. So there's been a lot of evolution in terms of wireless technologies, how they work, the type of services that are offered, and what the people that use those technologies need. The zoning codes that were written for, at the time of previous technologies. So other communities, neighboring communities in the area, Nick explicitly mentioned Rancho Mirage, are already working on the same type of thing to try to understand and support this new technologies and making the access to good wireless service better for the community. And then lastly, try to match the land use with the zoning. So on both the golf course overlay zone and the watercourse zone.
With that, I want to be crystal clear on what our ask is today. I want to make sure you guys understand. We are not asking for any sites to be approved right now. We're not changing the ability for the public to participate in the process. Every telecommunication tower would still require a conditional use permit. We're not changing that. This plan is specific to policy and planning changes in guidance for telecommunication towers. And at this time, there's no fiscal impact to the city. So our ask is to receive and file the wireless master plan and create a wireless plan ad hoc committee to help develop amendments to the zoning code to improve public safety and coverage throughout the city. And I do want to make sure I specifically thank Luis and John. They were instrumental in this process and understanding what our code is today and how we can make some positive change for our community, as well as Michaela for putting the video together. So anyway, that's our presentation, and we're available for any questions.
Any questions? Greg?
Maybe I'll wait until comment,
Okay.
or a public comment,
Yep.
and then comment afterward.
Okay. Anybody else?
How far are we away from the more esoteric and modern peer-to-peer types of wireless?
You're far. Very far.
Very far?
Yeah.
What about, I hear about SpaceLink or whatever that is, the Elon Musk company?
Satellite to cell direct.
Yeah,
Direct
satellite.
to cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is, it ties back a little bit with the types of devices and the operators, so there's a limitation there. Second thing is they're pairing that with terrestrial-based coverage because there's always a problem when you're talking uplink to a cell. So the evolution in satellite is the satellites are lower, but they're still very far up. If you think of your cell phone, you have very low, very limited battery power compared to the battery power of the site down. So for the satellite down, speeds, latency, quality of the call is good. For your phone up, that's where the challenge is now. I'm not saying that that's not going to be possible in 10, 15 years in the future.
Okay, that's what
but
I,
it's
you were talking
limited.
10 or 15 years in the future.
Or more, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it will be slowly, but it's far. It's not there yet.
So what you've shown us then is a study of where residents of our cities have cell phone coverage and where they may not. And so that observation, that map you've created, is the result of this study. That's what, in essence, we're receiving and filing. And then from that, we then, to the extent that cell phone towers or additional equipment is needed in specific locations to address undercoverage, that can either be handled locally or through the Planning Commission or at the City Council level. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yes, the study includes the map and where our coverage is today, in addition to some of the recommendations from a vendor that understands this better than we do. So their recommendations for some of the zoning changes is also part of that study. But no changes are in the study. It's just recommendations to update our zoning code to make our community.
Hence the ad hoc committee to review
Yes, sir.
potential changes.
Yes,
Got it. Okay, now I understand.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I changed my mind.
Okay.
If that's okay. Won't be the first time, I'm sure. Look, Nick just hit one of the nails right on the head. There are third parties that are more critical to this problem, solving the problem, than even the city, and that's the vendors, the cell phone companies. We can do planning and we can accommodate cell sites. We can do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, they make the decision about whether or not there's going to be a cell site built. They're very expensive, and they're always looking for a return on investment. How do I know that? I spent 15 years representing Sprint, T-Mobile, and a telecommunications company that has long since departed the scene. It's a real Rubik's Cube. So we have our work cut out for us. We can help grease the skids, pave the way, but they're the ones that are going to have to come in and put in the infrastructure to solve the problem, and it's a very, very expensive proposition for them. Second point.
Are we talking hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens
Oh,
of thousands of dollars?
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Each tower?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
One of the biggest challenges to any tower is, people always say we have, in the foothills, we own land. Why can't we just put a tower up there? Well, every tower, you have to be able to get infrastructure to it. It has to have power, it has to have a fiber connection to be able to get that network connection into it. And it has to be serviced. That's really like building a road to be able to get to that location so it can be serviced. I mean, most of these are serviced monthly. So you're talking about
Well,
having.
it's all federal land anyway, isn't it? I mean, we don't have any.
We have some, is it BLM land up there, I believe?
Yeah, we own a little piece, actually a pretty big piece of it.
We do, but I think, and again, I'll defer to the professionals. It's also, even though you may have it there, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the perfect location to help serve the areas of impact, though, too.
Yeah. The second point I wanted to make is, from my perspective, I think we need to treat this as a triage exercise. We have one entire country club area that has virtually no cell phone service. And I was really glad to hear you characterize the problem as a public safety problem. It really is. And I think we need to keep that in mind as we go forward, and we can discuss that a little more, I think, Mr. Mayor, as we get into this.
I have one more short question. Just to clarify, I'd like to know, this kind of ran by me with your deck here. What are the two areas that you're recommending for, I don't know if you'd call it rezoning or zoning to allow cell towers or cell facilities? What are those areas, again?
Yeah. So really clearly, watercourse zones, which is where there's a water channel or something. Today, our zoning code prohibits any telecommunications tower. There are other communities.
That's like the wash.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. All right.
We're not talking down in the wash, but there's ways to engineer around that in those zones to put something in that is safe for the community, and it's generally away from residential and a decent option to consider. And then the other area we're looking at is the golf course overlay. Yep. Today, the golf course overlay allows a tower only at a clubhouse. And what we're asking to consider is the option to open that up to non-direct play surfaces. So maintenance yard, an outside area, parking, anything that's in that golf course overlay that's not going to impact a direct play surface. So those are the two zones that.
So are you asking us by this motion to rezone?
No.
We're asking on this motion to form an ad hoc committee
Okay.
to discuss rezoning.
Okay.
Well, my house backs up to the wash. I'll be glad to volunteer right behind. You can have my backyard if you'll put in a cell tower. Because there may be a country club where the entire club is blind, and I feel sorry for them, but we get such bad service at our club, it's practically non-existent.
Well, what you have to keep in mind is this technology, while it appears to be very exotic, is really just old Marconi radio technology. And
Radio Shack type.
Yeah. I mean, it's jazzed up with a lot of modern features, but in the case of Indian Wells, we have a real problem with terrain. So terrain blocks the radio signals. These sites have to be able to communicate with one another, and when they can't, then you get drop calls, block calls, and that sort of thing. And so it's a challenge here, a real challenge.
Any further comment? Otherwise, we'll give it over to the public for public comment. No. Angelica, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do have Frank Holland.
Okay, Frank, come on down. Again, if you could state your name at the mic.
Yeah, my name's Frank Holland. I'm president of the Board of Governors at the Reserve Club. And Mayor Taylor, Councilman Reed, Sanders, and Whitman, I appreciate the opportunity to comment here. The presentation that Nick just did is we completely support at the Reserve Club. We are one of those communities that is squarely in the red, according to the map that Nick presented. And it's become a public safety, in fact, life-threatening concern for our members. Which I know you all know, because that doesn't exist strictly at the Reserve, it exists elsewhere as well. The only comment I wanted to make here today was to thank you for the seriousness with which you're taking this particular initiative. I know it costs a lot of resources, tremendous amount of time on your part to understand the issues, which are not easy. They're incredibly complex, as well as the staff time. So I was encouraged to see the zoning changes that you made earlier with the golf and recreation zone. I hope that does become a springboard to create and adopt some of the ideas that Nick has shared here earlier in the presentation with respect to places that we will be able to build a macro site. A macro site is something that, we have been doing for, I don't know, the last 8 or 9 years, our own research on what kind of technology might be available, and came to the same conclusion. Macro sites are really the only way right now in order to abate what we consider a grave risk to human life and public safety. So thank you very much for the attention you're giving the project. We appreciate and eagerly await the outcome.
Thank you very much for your comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any other comments? We have one more request to comment. Mr. Bernheimer.
Thank you again, Mayor and City Council, Rob Bernheimer. I just want to give a little history, if I may. I looked back at this. The first ordinance I signed as mayor in December of 2002 was the telecommunications overlay. And the city back then, 25 years ago, hired consultants and put a lot of time and effort into coming up with a plan. We had really bad cell coverage at the time. I think when you fast forward 25 years and you look at the city, yes, we have El Dorado and the Reserve that still have they're underserviced. But nobody in the city can look up and point to a cell tower. They don't know where the cell towers are in Indian Wells, and that's unique. When you drive through the other cities, you see these ugly cell towers everywhere, and that was our goal 25 years ago, was to create cell service for the city, but do it in a way that's stealth and invisible. And I think this plan is a good continuation of that. It shows you where the gaps are, but it still takes advantage of the telecommunications overlay, which gives a hierarchy of ways to be able to provide that coverage, but still respect the views that we have here in Indian Wells and the idea that we don't want to look at this equipment. And I think that this is showing that the past 25 years was a huge success for this plan, and now we just have to take it to the next level and finish the gap. So thank you for putting the time and effort into this.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. All right, back to council. Any further comment? Otherwise, I believe this is a receive and file. No further comment?
I think it would be appropriate for the council to give some direction to the staff and to create the ad hoc committee that's been recommended. As I indicated before, from my perspective, this is a triage exercise. And in terms of what our responsibilities are as a city, what I mean by triage is focusing on those communities that are grossly underserved or not served at all, and accommodate cell phone coverage in those areas with appropriate zoning. And I think that would be the task of the ad hoc committee. And I would really like to see the ad hoc committee do its work with a great deal of speed. This is a public safety issue. We need to get our arms around it as quickly as we can. And I'm talking about getting all in, all done here within about 90 days.
Is that a raising of the hand for you to be on the ad hoc committee and lead the ad hoc committee with Mr. Reed?
Well, yeah, he's got a problem at the El Dorado Country Club.
Okay, there's a motion on the table then to accept an ad hoc committee led by Greg and Dana. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much for the presentation and for the creation of the ad hoc committee. It is a public safety issue, and we look forward to addressing the needs of our community. I3, approval of a Fourth Amendment to the easement agreement for the Indian Wells Golf Resort, authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents to effectuate the terms.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
hate to throw a monkey wrench in, but can we take like a 3-minute nature break?
Wow. Okay, fine. All right, well, what time is it now? It's 2:51. We'll come back at 2:55. We're in recess.
I think the he didn't really mean 3 minutes.
Okay, let's take your seat, please. All 300 people in the chamber. Thank you very much. All right. So I think where we were, if I'm not mistaken, is I3.
Right.
So Attorney Leishman, I think, is making this presentation. Over to you.
I am. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you are well aware, the city's one of the city's most valuable assets is the Indian Wells Golf Resort. The Indian Wells Golf Resort exists because
Hello, can we get order, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Order. Order. Hey. Order.
As they say in the House of Commons, order, order.
Order.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Back in 1985, the predecessors in interest to the city, the Hyatt, and Renaissance hotels entered into an easement agreement. It's that easement agreement that allowed the development and allows the existence of the Indian Wells Golf Resort. In recent conversations with our two hotel partners, there's a mutual desire to amend that easement agreement in some ways to clarify governance and clean it up a little bit. Now, at a real high level, what does this Fourth Amendment really do? You've got a staff report, you've had a copy of the Fourth Amendment attached with the packet, so I'll just stay at a high level. First, it updates the party names to reflect current ownership. A lot of time has passed, the properties have changed hands, and the city is now in possession. Number two, it clarifies that the complementary golf agreement, which has been around since the 90s and amended several times, that is what governs golf operations and hotel rates for golf, and makes it clear that hotels do not have any approval authority over resident or other non-hotel rates. Third, it reduces unnecessary approval rights between the hotel owners. And fourth, it allows for two-party amendments if they only adjust the boundaries of a city-held easement over property held by a hotel to make those kind of easement adjustments more streamlined. As I said, it is a clarification, a clarifying, and it is a clarification and a governance cleanup amendment. I want to be very clear, this Fourth Amendment does not change any permitted use or activity. With that, I'm available for questions.
Yeah, just a quick question. This is not in consent calendar because it involves property?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for Team City of Indian Wells? No? Any public comment on this? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I4, approve terms for an exchange for real property with the Renaissance Hotel for Indian Wells Golf Resort. Authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents to effectuate the terms. Dr. Freeland, over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. With the action you just made, it allows for us to move forward with the item I4, which is the approval of terms for the exchange of real property as the mayor introduced. Before you is a slide that shares with you the 1985 easement agreement that the city attorney just spoke about, which was an agreement between both the City of Indian Wells, Hyatt, and Renaissance, where the two hotel partners provided land through a perpetual easement for the golf resort development. It is important to note that the easement agreement limits the city to only use this land for golf-related purposes. So the city can't sell the land to another party. The city can't lease it out for a non-golf related business. For example, we can't put a Starbucks on this land or any other hotel operator. Remember, an easement is to use someone else's property. The city does not own any of this land. In the picture on the screen, this is important because you see this large red trapezoid that circumvents all the way from Highway 111 to the Whitewater Channel to the eastern border of the Renaissance Hotel, up and down Indian Wells Lane. The shaded area, let me get this going again. I hope, there we go. Or not.
We can see the
You
shaded
can see there. Yeah, so the shaded or hashed area is actually the area subjected to the 1985 easement agreement. As you can see, this area includes the former hole 18 of the players course, Indian Wells Lane entering the golf resort, and also the golf resort clubhouse, parking lots, and driving range. All of the city assets are on somebody else's property. So why are we here today? For years, Renaissance has expressed an interest to expand their hotel operations to improve guest experience, remain competitive as a premier tourist destination, and to create this as a premier destination and offer new amenities that will drive new revenues to the city. In 2022, Renaissance and City began serious negotiations to change a portion of the easement where the former hole number 18 of the players course was located to allow Renaissance to develop new amenities for the guests, specifically an expansion of the pool area and other outdoor recreation amenities. These negotiations have been on and off for the past 4.5 years. Renaissance has shared with the city that they have turned business away when or at near capacity because they do not have sufficient pool area to meet guest demands. Those hotel properties and other hotel properties, in the Coachella Valley have expanded their pool areas, have done so with great success. A great example is the expanded pool facilities at the Grand Hyatt. A change to the easement over the former hole 18 would allow the Renaissance to complete these new amenities. As part of the negotiations, the city's primary interest was to gain ownership of the land underneath the golf resort clubhouse, parking lots, driving range, and the road into the golf resort. In addition, the golf resort continues to see business increase and has a deficiency in parking. So we've also made parking a great demand for the golf resort. Therefore, repurposing a portion of hole number 18 for parking helps to satisfy that demand. The plan is to add about 100 parking spots on a portion of the former 18th hole. The city, with Troon's assistance, also examined options to repurpose hole 18 for a golf-related purpose during negotiations with Renaissance. Specifically, Troon thought there might be a market for a short game training facility. The challenge with this concept was that it would cost the city approximately $1 million to construct, with an expected profitability of about $100,000 a year, meaning it would take at least 10 years for a return on our investment. During negotiations, Renaissance provided the city with documentation that once the new amenities were constructed, the city would increase occupancy and rates at the Renaissance. Once completed, Renaissance and Marriott projected the city will receive conservatively $3.9 million in new transient occupancy tax, or TOT, over the next 10 years, compared to having no additional amenities. It is important to note that while Renaissance provided these numbers, also Marriott Corporate, our city's third-party economic development consultant, Cosmic Companies, and our own finance director have validated those projections. Economically, it makes more sense for the city to exchange the easement over the former hole 18 to allow Renaissance to expand, which requires no city investment and generates a much larger new revenue stream to the city once the project is completed. This is a rendering of the conceptual Renaissance expansion with an expanded pool amenities and potential for outdoor fitness equipment. Again, this is just the concept they are looking at. With this proposed conceptual project and the completion of the city's due diligence, the city and Renaissance have completed negotiations to vacate our easement interest for Renaissance expansion in consideration of a number of provisions. The 6 acres will have a deed restriction. So let me go through the different deal points if I may first. The city will receive ownership of 8.6 acres of land. Approximately 6 acres of that land is where our clubhouse, parking lots, and driving range is located. Approximately 1.6 acres of land, inclusive of Indian Wells Lane, from Highway 111 to the golf resort, including the traffic circle, to ensure that it remains open to public as public right-of-way. And then, of course, as mentioned, the 1 acre on the former hole number 18 to construct a new parking lot. Renaissance will also provide a one-time $3 million payment to the city. City keeps an easement to access new parking lot from the golf cart path, also an access to the Indian Wells Lane fountain for maintenance. Renaissance also agrees to a timeline to submit their project plan, construct and complete their project to generate new TOT to the city. Failure to do so creates a penalty of $10,000 a month if that timeline is not met. The project is also subject to the appropriate entitlement process and public review as appropriate with the city. The city will also save an additional $5,000 a month to not maintain the current hole number 18. In exchange, the Renaissance receives a release of the easement of approximately 6.9 acres of their own land to develop. The 6 acres I mentioned for the clubhouse will have a deed restriction that the city cannot sell that property in the future for a hotel operator. The parking lot property will also have a deed restriction that that land is for parking purposes only. The city will also agree to provide adequate landscaping to shield that parking lot, which is something of interest to us as well. The proposed deal includes the attached exchange agreement to the staff report and several attachments to effectuate the deal. The city attorney can provide greater insight into those documents if you so desire. At this time, if I can ask our Public Works Director, Dina Purvis, to walk us through the land exchanges being approved today for your consideration.
So you see the
Microphone? Thank you.
the large parcel shape that Chris was showing earlier, going all the way around the property, that is all of the Renaissance property. This area here in the black is the area that's going to be released. This piece actually does extend to here, and there is another piece up here that didn't show up on this exhibit. The city will get a retain an easement here and here. This is for golf carts. This is for us to maintain the fountain. We'll receive this parcel for right-of-way, and we'll accept it as right-of-way. We'll have this parcel for the parking lot, and then the clubhouse, solar, parking lots, and driving range are there. There's a green easement from the city for public use, basically, so that people can have a way around when they're coming from the hotel and going down to the street. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yeah, I questioned the new city parcel 3, that's 1 acre, did you say?
Correct.
And that's room for about 100 cars?
That is correct.
Is that self-parking or 100 cars with a valet parking?
I'd have to check with staff on that. If it's
Do you happen to know?
It's expected to
Either
not
way.
be self-parking.
Not be
Not be
self-parking.
self-parking.
Okay, so in other words, it could be bumper to bumper because it's going to be valet.
Just as you would with valet.
Okay, fine, thank you.
For clarification, what staff is sharing that it's going to be striped for 100 spaces. If you did valet, like you're mentioning, at the head-to-head, you might be able to squeeze in some more for special events.
Is there any more to the presentation?
There is. I just the final conclusion of it, if I may.
Thank you.
Or not. I'm pushing the right button. I know that for okay. Maybe that's not working right now. Staff recommendation is that council approve and authorize the city manager and city attorney to finalize, makes non-substantive changes, and execute an exchange agreement and related documents between the city and the owner of the Renaissance Hotel, subject to acceptance and signature by Renaissance. And 2, finds the action to be exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act under guidelines sections 15378, 15061, 15301, 15315. I would like to thank the representatives from Bixby Bridge Capital, who are the owners of Renaissance, who are present today, for working with the city to develop the proposed win-win property exchange before the council today. They are here to show your support. I know that they would like to come forward in a moment to make a few comments, but this concludes staff's report, and the city attorney and I are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Does anybody have any question up here with regard to what's being presented?
Let me just clarify a couple of things. In terms of the deed restrictions on the 8.6 acres that the city's, so just to clarify that there are deed restrictions on the property that we are receiving, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the property cannot be used for anything other than what it's being used for right now, in perpetuity, is that?
The deed restrictions are focused on precluding transitory lodging or hotel.
Okay.
They don't want a competitor moving in there.
And we do own 204 acres of golf courses, land in fee simple, correct?
I don't know about the number, but we do own, the city owns a substantial acreage of the golf course.
And that land under the negotiation is still subject to the easement that the city cannot use that land for anything other than golf course purposes, correct?
Yes, under the 85 easement, that's not changing.
However, the 6.9 acres that the hotel is receiving of the old 18, hole 18, has no deed restriction and has no easement restriction any longer. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. So they can, subject to zoning or conditional use permits or other city reviews, they could essentially put anything on that property that they choose. Correct?
Well, anything that they choose consistent with the city's zoning and general plan.
Right, but there's no legal restrictions whatsoever.
Not through a deed restriction, no. There are substantial legal restrictions through land use.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments from the dais? Any public comment? I think it would be nice to have maybe...
David Rotenberg from Bixby.
Yeah,
Briggs
please,
like to
David.
come forward.
Come on up. Welcome to Indian Wells. You're home away from home.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. It does feel like my home away from home. It's always great to be here.
You brought the good weather.
I try. So good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Again, my name is David Rotenberg. On behalf of the Renaissance Esmeralda, my colleague, David Williams, and I want to thank the council for being such a good partner over the years. Some negotiations are zero-sum with one clear winner and one loser. And instead, the council and staff, they've bargained hard over the past 4 years to ensure a fair exchange of benefits to the city, while also demonstrating a commitment to finding a negotiated solution that creates a win-win. A win for the city and the residents of Indian Wells by facilitating a project that will drive additional tax revenues. A win for the city that allows one of its premier resorts to add amenities and experiences, which in turn will continue to perpetuate Indian Wells as the premier hospitality destination within the Coachella Valley. And a win for the Esmeralda for the very same reasons. We commend the city, its excellent staff, and this council for your sustained engagement and connection to detail. Nothing that is rewarding in life is easy, but we are confident that the process that we have all undergone over the last 4 years will ensure continued success for the city and for the Esmeralda. So thank you again for your time and for the opportunity to address you today.
And while you're up, just a couple other comments that I think are worth noting for everyone. I believe currently, based on the size of your pool, that you have certain limitations for room rentals. In other words,
That's correct.
You have a capacity issue, so that you can only rent whatever 80%, 70% of your current rooms, because if you have too many more people, they won't be able to use the pool, and therefore that creates issues. So the goal is to be able to maximize and get to 100% capacity with a larger pool and recreation space, which is the intention ultimately of you guys to build out based on this approval today.
That's exactly right. At peak capacity times, we have to leave approximately 80 rooms unsold. Those are rooms for which there is market demand, for which the city would receive additional TOT, that we simply cannot sell because we are limited in our deck space and pool capacity.
Right. And so, this past year, you've also enjoyed an increase in the room rental fee, if you will, I think over the past year, which is also goes to your doing a great job at improving the architecture and entryway, the reception area, putting in a new restaurant downstairs. You've done a great job at reinvesting in the property and in the community. And for that, I also want to thank you and appreciate your continued investment.
Thank you very much for saying that. This is a very important investment for our company, and we're just going to continue to keep making it better and better. That's our goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on this? Madam Clerk? No public comment. Back to the team here. Do you want to have a motion to approve?
I move the recommended action, and I'll have some comment if there's
Do I have a second?
to the motion.
Dana seconds by the raise of a hand. All right. Comments? Greg?
I think this deal comes under the category of a no-brainer. Look, if we were to try and make use of this property, we'd have a very large CapEx that we would have to spend. The rate of return on that CapEx is not optimum, to say the least. Whereas if we turn this property back to the hotel, all we have to do is sit back and collect additional TOT. So that's one very positive aspect. The second positive aspect is we have virtually no alternative for additional parking. We are grossly underparked. We desperately need parking. And so while we're getting $3 million in cash from the hotel for relinquishing the easement, we're also getting a very valuable piece of property. And if we had to go external to the golf resort to find a comparable piece of property, I suspect it would cost us about $1 million. That's what that kind of property is going for in Indian Wells these days. I think this is very much in the public interest. It's good public policy. It makes all the sense in the world. So I think we should just move forward and get this done finally.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else?
Yeah, I again, to David Rodenberg, this has been and to my colleagues, it's been a very difficult negotiation, not only between us, but internally. Nothing is easy when it comes to negotiating these types of situations. And I'm very happy about some of it, especially the ability of the Renaissance Hotel to upgrade their property and provide more available rooms. I think it's great for the Renaissance, and that's great for the city. And the parking. All of this was a process of negotiation. The one reservation I have is a question I ask. I don't understand why we allowed the easement, while we were in the process of negotiating this deal, why we're continuing to allow the hotels to have veto power or through an easement restriction on the property that we own in fee simple, 204 acres of golf course. We don't know what's going to happen in the future with golf courses, with water, with Indian Wells, there's so many things that could happen. But it's a process of negotiation, and I think you have to compromise at times. So I am going to vote in favor of this project and this deal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and noted about the golf course and our ability to make adjustments. And just as maybe a final comment before we vote, and as a fan of golf and architecture, I'll miss the 18th hole. It was a fantastic golf hole. With that said, shall we move to a decision here? All those in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. I made a mistake early on when introducing today's session. I forgot to pull item I-5. I apologize, but I-5 has been pulled to a later date. So now what we do is we go to the council members' reports. So, Mr. Whitman, I'm going to go to you first, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Contract Cities event here in the city, as well as the Southern California Association of Governments event that was also here in the city. and went to some very interesting seminars and issues that apply to all of us. Let's see. Let me see what else I need to report on. Is there anything else, Mr. City Manager, that I need to report on with respect to these technicalities of conferences?
You reported contract cities, I believe, so I think that was the only
Yep.
one you were in attendance
We
of.
did that last time.
You reported your Cal Cities one at your last meeting.
Thank you. With respect to my committees, I have really gotten a love for the Coachella Valley Children's Discovery Museum. I would hope that in the future, I won't be here, but I would hope in the future that somebody champions a further support for the Children's Discovery Museum. I think it's an incredible place. One of our premier citizens, Dick Oliphant, was the driving force, along with Betty Barker, to build the Children's Discovery Museum. It has quite a bit of use by Indian Wells residents. On the board, including as well as me, there are 3 other residents of Indian Wells on that board. And I know we didn't address this directly at the sponsorship or budget meeting that we had recently. I would hope it becomes a budget item, that we support this museum in some significant way. The last meeting I went to, there is a cash crunch there. They do need our help. They need the help of other contributors. So that's the Children's Museum. Cove Communities, I think I'll defer to Greg. I didn't make it to the last meeting. Desert Sands, we didn't have a meeting. Eisenhower Funding Ad Hoc should be, that ad hoc should be gone, right? That we should not have that ad hoc anymore. We've already completed that. The Golf Advisory Committee, along with the mayor, I'm on that committee, have been on that committee for many years. The primary issue, I think, to address with the Golf Advisory Committee that was addressed at the last meeting was what to do about the tournament. There was low attendance, and hopefully we can get some ideas about how to resolve that and have a greater participation. Sunline, tremendous agency. What a service they provide to the valley. Again, they are in the process of surveying the usage of Sunline, and they have a consultant that is trying to decide, with limited resources, how much of the valley can be served. And the real problem is that you can only serve the populated areas or the remote areas. We can't serve both with the assets that we have. So it's in a process of deciding how to do that, and there's been quite a bit of great testimony in front of the board, some of it heartbreaking, of people who have to walk 2 miles to get a bus to go to work, older people. Again, we need to support that agency. It's a very important agency for the Valley. With that, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Reed.
The Conservation Commission met last week. We bought some more property. It's my understanding that at the next meeting will be a report on the Conservation Commission. I don't know who's going to be speaking on their behalf, but Gary Gardner, who's a city council member from Desert Hot Springs, is the chairman of the Conservation Commission. So if he was available, he would be a perfect person to come and make the presentation. He is also our representative on SCAG. Right. And if in fact he is the person, you might ask him to also give us a brief update as to his activities on our behalf before the Southern California Association of Governments. Just a suggestion. Also, I agree, obviously, Eisenhower Funding Ad Hoc Committee is now, so will be gone. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders.
I'm sorry,
Yep,
I made myself enough. Discovery Museum. The marketing committee is meeting
soon,
week after next, and I know that the hotels are very, very supportive of the Discovery Museum. I don't know whether it's on the agenda or not, but at the very least, we should encourage Greater Palm Springs VCB, or whatever it's, Visit Palm Springs.
Visit Greater Palm Springs.
To get involved as well. But I agree with you, it is a resource not only for our residents, not our residents, but our residents' grandchildren.
Right.
Or great-grandchildren.
Yes.
But it's also, and I see the heads nodding, the hotels think it's wonderful because it's something for spouses to do while whoever it is that is at a convention or a business meeting, something for them to do while the other spouse is unavailable. So I agree with you completely, council member, and hopefully the marketing committee can address that as well. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo what Dana said and what Councilman Whitman brought up earlier, and that is the importance of the Discovery Museum, Children's Discovery Museum. And Councilman Whitman, I'll commit to you that if I'm not the official representative of the city on the board of the Children's Discovery Museum, I'll still be looking out for it. So, and thank you for your good work on that board. Appreciate it. Just a few things. Number one, the Cove Communities Service Commission is putting together a program that will involve the use of drones for public safety purposes, both for police and for fire and paramedic service. It is really exciting. It's incredible technology, and that'll be coming to the City Council in the not-too-distant future for our participation with Palm Desert and Rancho Mirage in that program. I know that Councilman Penna is working with the Community Activities Commission on the 60th anniversary celebration events for the City of Indian Wells. I'm sure he'll give us a full-throated report at the next council meeting. And finally, the Indian Wells Public Safety Committee, which consists of myself and Councilman Penna, Mayor Pro Tem Penna, we're going to be recommending some e-bike regulations, e-bike legislation. We've had reports from other jurisdictions where it's really gotten out of hand. We had an e-bike strike a pedestrian here in Indian Wells who fell and broke her wrist. So it's something that I think we need to tighten up, and we'll have some proposals for the City Council in the not-too-distant future. Thank you.
Mr. Penn is not here, so I'll go next. CVAG Executive Committee created an ad hoc committee to look at increases in revenue sources, including increased in taxation, to help support the ongoing needs of CVAG, which is foreseeing financial challenges. CVAG Energy Committee and our ad hoc Clean Air Committee, we're beginning to discuss with CVAG their desire to look at dust mitigation. Dust is now an issue. We've all felt it, breathed it over the past couple of weeks. And there's a report coming from Eisenhower Hospital on the health and safety issues, especially for children, Coachella Valley, that will be shared shortly. I saw a first draft. It's compelling. And so we're engaged in a conversation with CVAG to understand the role they want to play in dust mitigation and in helping get access to the land and dealing with the various parties that control the land and then mitigation efforts. On the on the homeless committee meeting. There's issues with regard to California state budget and funding for homelessness coming down the pipe, which are presenting some challenges on one hand. On the other hand, our county-wide effort is noteworthy in the state of California as we're having more success than others in reducing homelessness. So hats off to especially Coachella Valley. Both of our supportive initiatives are working very effectively. With regard to the Indian Wells Golf Resort, in June we're going to add to the agenda golf rates, golf tee time reservations, and annual fees. The group, Troon, and its maintenance team for the golf course is adding trees, large, very mature trees, to protect some of the areas that need addressing with the new design from the players course, where one fairway is contiguous to another fairway, and balls which are errantly hit can potentially create injury. Nothing's happened yet, thank goodness, but we're preparing with some defensive mechanisms to reduce any potential issues arising in the future on the golf course, and they're doing a good job at continuing to address those concerns. Let's see, the Riverside County Transportation Commission approved several $100 million worth of construction, and mainly on the western side of Riverside, and they're actually going to consolidate with San Diego County usage of the fast lane center that observes the traffic flow and creates support for cars that may be stuck in the highways, saving $20 million a year by consolidating those efforts. It's a real nod to the Riverside County Transportation Commission to get that contract, because anything that involves governance of various multi-counties is very difficult to get done these days. So hats off to RCTC for getting that done. I'm noticing, by the way, in a lot of these meetings, CVAG, Executive Committee, RCTC, SCAG, California Contract Cities, a growing concern of available dollars to implement programs, either because of a reduction in potential revenue generated by tax, or by, and more importantly, by the significant increases in cost to implement programs. And we are heading into, it's very clear to me that this concern, even getting an approval of a consulting agreement for RCTC, is being more scrutinized today than it has been in the last 2 years. Something to pay attention to, I think, as we continue to walk down the road here. At the California Contract Cities that were here in Indian Wells last week, I gave an opening address talking about unfunded mandates in the state of California, especially as it relates to affordable housing, which of course is illegal in the California Constitution. You can't force cities to do something, provide services, or build things without funding from the state of California. So that's an initiative that's going to be kind of getting hot and heavy here over the next couple years, as all of us are trying to fulfill our RENA credits. There was a great presentation by Google that has a software that they're implementing in cities across the country that creates kind of a nice interaction between citizens and the city with regard to potential planning, long-term strategic initiatives, et cetera, that provides an opportunity for the collection of data and then using AI techniques to create kind of mapping on very effective mapping on key initiatives, concerns, thoughts from citizens that can guide city councils moving forward. And our city's going to look into those potential software items to see if we can implement any of them here. Let's let's see, Southern California Association of Governments had their big meeting out here. CV Link won an award for a great public use program to encourage public non-car transportation and usage. It was very warmly received by the Southern California Association of Governments. And that will conclude my committee section. And I believe we have a question from Dr. Friedland.
We do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prior to the meeting, Councilmember Sanders asked that I remind him that under his report for the 60th Anniversary Ad Hoc Committee, there is a discussion that they would like to perhaps expand that ad hoc committee to include representatives from our different city committees, for example, community activities, marketing, which includes our hotel partners, to be a part of that planning of our celebration.
I think it's an excellent idea. Do we need a motion to do anything there?
That'd be great. We'll bring back at your June meeting structure to that.
Okay, so it's going to be an agenda item in June.
Correct.
All right, well, with that, that ends the meeting here at 3:36 until June 18th. See you then. Bye.